Yes, here we go. Delighted. Not only a top player, but the only guy I've had on who's got a bigger nose than me. Graeme Shinnie, how you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I've had plenty of them over my time, mate.
Mate, that's why I brought it up. I've spoke to 5 guys a day, and the first thing every single one of them said was give him a bit about his nose. I'm going to give you a chance to write a reply, all right? Mark Reynolds first. I mean, come on, man.
Nah, Reynolds lost his Barnet when he was 20.
Jason Brown, mate, which I could not believe. But anyone that doesn't know Jason Brown, I played him at Peterhead, mate, and he's claiming that your nose is worse.
Wow. I'm not having that. I'm not having that.
Somebody said that they were going to put you and him in cages up at Inverness and treat it as a bird sanctuary.
When I was at Inverness, my early days, John Dock used to call me Barry Manilow.
Not bad. Who else has gave you a bit? Scott Kelleher, mate.
No way.
Mate, you notice how all these boys are ugly bastards and they're giving you a bit.
Oh, mate, I'm not having it from him, man. I'm not having it from him.
And the most important question in the full interview, mate, what was heavier? Scott Kelleher's belly or Ross Tokley's touch?
Kelleher's belly by far.
Mate, last one, and mate, I need to give you the line that he's took. I don't want to steal it. Ryan Christie.
Wow.
He says to me, Graeme Shinnie walked into a wall with a full erection once and broke his nose.
I went dog walking once in Aberdeen with a random guy. He wouldn't leave me alone. Was walking down the beach in Aberdeen when turned around me and said, like, I broke my nose when I was younger and all that. You all know all about that. I was like, mate, I've never broke my nose before.
Kelleher says you've had 10 operations to get it smaller.
None of them have worked.
And I says to him, you've had the same amount of operations to get your tits up the size they're at.
He's had the same amount of bags of Monster Munch.
Brilliant. Right, mate, we're going to the career. How ruthless are boys in football, by the way?
Oh, brilliant. I love it, mate. You have to be that way. You don't get away with it in football if you're not that way.
Yeah. Is it always a nose with you with the boys ahead?
Always, mate. Always.
I must say to you, I think you're looking great, mate. Look at the cheekbones in that.
I think my quiff and my beard, I get away with it a little bit, but if I didn't have that, I'd be struggling.
You're looking like a young Derek McInnes, man.
I've had that a few times as well.
That was another thing Ryan Christie says. He says, I've played with Graeme Shinnie under 3 different managers, and he always manages to be the manager's son after about 2 weeks. Is that right?
Almost, I've been the captain at a couple, so I think I've been the captain at all of them, so I've had to have that sort of relationship with the managers anyway. But
mate, Big Yogi, I phoned him today to ask about you. Oh my God, he loves you, didn't he?
Tremendous. Yogi's a legend. Absolute legend.
Do you still keep in contact with the managers you played under?
Always. With some of them, I've lost contact a wee bit with Terry Butcher, but Yogi all the time and Dell at Aberdeen as well.
Brilliant, mate. Right, you grew up and played football in Aberdeen. Was it just a boys' club coming through?
It was just Dice Boys Club, which is a big boys' club in Aberdeen. It's sort of the main one that you sort of want to be at. I played there until I think it was under 15s. And it was through that boys' club that I managed to get picked up by Inverness. I think they were sort of watching players from Dice because that's what scouts used to do. And then we had a trial game against Inverness at the time. And from there, that's how I sort of signed for Inverness under 17s. But I felt like playing boys' club there until I did, and not having the pressures of sort of the professional clubs. Just playing with my mates and enjoying it. Felt like it helped me a bit.
And anyone doesn't know, your brother went to Rangers as a kid, because I used to play against him when we were younger, mate. He was a bad loser, your brother. I know you are as well. Did you used to kick shit at each other when you were younger?
Always, mate, always. He always used to put me in goals, to be fair, until when I was younger, I always wanted to be a goalie. And he always used to put me in goals and batter the shots in at me. But he was at Dice as well. He came through from Dice. There's a load of boys that came through from Dice. Stuart Armstrong, Ross Tokley, Roy McBain. There's been loads, so it's a big boys club, and me and my brother sort of playing in the garden, playing in the parks, wherever we could. It was good.
Right, mate, I don't know if you'll answer this, but I've heard that your Xbox name is Ferguson6.
Who's told you that? I
done a piss about.
that's somebody from my Inverness days in the digs. I know it, but I don't know who would have told you that. But it might have been, it might not.
And so, see, when your brother signed for Rangers, were you a wee bit jealous that he was away over to Murray Park to go and play?
I used to go down all the time and watch his football, and I suppose he gave me that sort of inspiration to make me want to go and play it, because when I was younger, I never thought I would have made it to where I am now. I'd done my work experience at Quick Fit, fitting tyres, which was horrendous. So up until that age, I'd never ever thought about playing football. It was never something that I thought was going to come my way, and it came so late that when it eventually did come, I was obviously buzzing. But when I used to go down and watch, obviously, him at Murray Park and to see the facilities, and then go to Ibrox and watch the football there, it sort of shown me what I could have had, and probably pushed me on to want it even more.
You worked in Quick Fit. Is that where Scott Kelleher got all the tyres up his top?
I used to get abused in Quick Fit as well. The guys that I used to work with used to send me to the shop. There was like another tyre place further up. They used to send me up there and get a tyre. I would roll it all the way back down the road, and they would say, "That's the wrong one. You need to go right back up." So I'd be rolling it. I was a scuddy at Quick Fit. It was only a week, but it was horrendous, mate.
Horrendous. So 17, mate, Inverness picked you up. Were you absolutely delighted?
Oh, I was buzzing, absolutely buzzing. It was obviously sort of a big step. I always remember my first game, even at the youth level. My dad was sort of always onto me in my football career, but at that stage, I played my first game. I can't remember who it was for, who it was against. But I played really well in the game, and I came off after it. And I always remember him saying to me, "Son, I didn't think you were good enough. If I'm being honest with you, I didn't know if you could make the step up, but you've proved me wrong." And from there, really just went from strength to strength.
Did you think the same as your dad at that time? Did you think you were good enough?
I didn't really know what to think. It was something sort of so different to what I'd been used to. And when I was younger, I used to fight for sort of regional selects, schoolboy selects. I got in none of them. I never made a select. I never made a sort of a boys' club select. So at that point, I thought, I don't know if I'm going to make the step up here. But as soon as I got involved in the training and sort of the games, I knew straight away that I could do it. The players that I was playing with there were no different. And I had a really good year at the under-17s level, which helped me again. And then at the end of that, moved up to the under-19s. So, once I made that step up, I knew that was sort of what I wanted to do as the years went on.
Any young kids watching, do not listen to your fucking old man, because he's now sitting in a 6-bedroom house in Derby.
He used to be fair, he was always my harshest critic, but when I'd done well, he would always tell me if I'd done well. Even to this day, he'll always batter me after I've had a bad game. What
about the dressing room, mate? Who were the good? Because there was a lot of older guys there at the time, wasn't there? Who was good with you?
I'd say it was a tough dressing room. It was an old school dressing room. You had your good mate Ross Tokley. You had Stuart Golobeck, Roy McBain, Russell Duncan. All those boys who were really old school. So it was you hated going into the first team dressing room for any reason, because they wouldn't slaughter you, or they wouldn't. But if you done something wrong, they would sort of slaughter you. But they were great guys. But going into that first team, it sort of kept your feet on the ground a wee bit. You couldn't get ahead of yourselves, or these boys would tear you down. And yeah, Big Tokes used to take me into training. Once I sort of established myself in the first team a bit more, he used to take me into training. He was a real good guy. All of them were. It was a good dressing room up there. No one could have any sort of ego at a club like Inverness. We were all knit together. It was all sort of as a one. But yeah, it was an intimidating dressing room because of the old school sort of nature that was there.
Right, mate. The scariest guy in Scottish football, and Richie Foran. How angry can Richie Foran get?
He was mad. He was an unbelievable captain. He was no nonsense. Again, you would get away with nothing with him. He was the most loyal guy ever. He would fight your corner. Even if you were in the wrong, he would fight your corner. But in games and training, if you gave the ball away or you didn't hit him with a pass, he would absolutely terrorise you. So yeah, he was mad. He was on the phone one day in the bus. I don't know who he was on the phone to, but it went the wrong way, and his fish and chips from Ochterarder went flying down the bus. he had it, honestly, his temper used to just go. But for me as a young boy coming through, and especially when I sort of became the captain, he was sort of, he had done his knee, I think, in his shoulder, so he was sort of on the way out, and I sort of took over as captain. He sort of showed me the ropes a wee bit, and he was a good role model for me. So at that time in my career, he was somebody that showed me the ropes and was really good. I
knew boys that played him at Motherwell, and he said that he would actually fight players. Would that be the same for this?
Aye, if he had to, he had that mentality. That's how he used to work. If anyone sort of done him wrong, then he'd be up for it. But no one that I witnessed really gave him that sort of that chance, because nobody wanted to mess with him.
What about Claude behind the stands?
Yeah, I had a feeling where this one was going, but that day, and Claude was a big guy as well. But yeah, they basically had it out behind the stand, and after it, Richie said, put his hand out, shook the guy's hand, and said, "That's how we deal with it, like men." Big Claude just sat down for his lunch, and he got ordered out to the car park.
What about socialising with the first team? Would you be out with the first team up in Inverness?
In that early stages with those sort of boys, there wasn't many that I used to like socially. There wasn't many nights out that I used to do. I went on loan at one point to Forest, and that was for basically like almost a season. And then as the years sort of went on, the changing room changed. The older boys sort of, Granty Munro went to Ross County, Big Tokes the same, Roy McBain went. So a lot of the players started to move away, and then a lot of the boys from down south and in the sort of lower leagues in England started to come up. So the changing room changed a lot, and it wasn't until then that sort of I had established myself a wee bit in the team, and then started going out with the lads, and it was a good dressing room. No one missed a night out. That's what I loved about it so much. Everyone was in that part of the country that was up in the sticks. It was us. Everyone was there, and if you had a night out, every single person was there. No one used to miss it, and used to have some good laughs.
Is that true that Forest Mechanics wanted you after your stint at QuickFit? That's good banter, that's off the cuff.
That's not bad. That I'll give you that one. That's not bad at all.
Well, by the way, I have to ask you as well. Ryan Christie said, ask him what colour his Fiat 500 was.
Oh my God! So I passed my brother moved up and signed, so we lived together, and he used to drive. So I had no interest in doing my driving lessons. He used to take me anywhere he was going, I was going. So it wasn't until he left that I'd done my driving lessons. I must have been maybe 21, 22. And when I passed my test, I didn't have a car. So my missus had a light blue Fiat 500, a little blue Bullet. And I was just buzzing to drive. So I used to take in the trip. I'm not bothered. I still have a Golf now to this day, and I get battered by the boys at Derby. There's G-Wagons and Bentley Bentegas, and I've got a wee Golf. I'm not really fussed.
Love that.
But I used to take the Fiat 500 in. I remember Alan Gow came up, and I can't remember if he was just keeping his fitness up or if he was actually in on trial. And he said to me at training, "Oh, you live, I'm up staying with my cousin or something. It's up by your house. Will you take me home?" And I was like, "Oh no, I've got this Fiat 500. It's light blue." And he's asked me for a lift home. I says, "I can take you home, but I've got my missus' motor." He's like, "Aye, it's fine." So me and him, after training, jumping in the wee Fiat 500 off up the road. Oh, I used to get battered for it.
But Christie says to me, did you used to race boys in car parks?
Aye, Liam Polworth always used to barter me for it, and I used to say, "You've only got a wee white Corsa. The blue Bullet will take you out." So we went behind the car park and the missus didn't know this, but I rattled the car so much. It was revving so bad. And I was at the point where I was like, I'm going through the stadium if I have to win this race. And I think he sort of put the brakes on quicker than I did, and I went shooting off. Oh, I was buzzing.
Mate, what was going on at Inverness, man? I could just imagine Richie Foran, Leather and somebody in Hughes having races in the car park.
Honestly, it was brilliant. It was unbelievable times. Like I said, it was all, we were in it together. There was a wee porta cabin, that was our gym. There was no heating, no electricity in it. It was freezing. The club was what it was, and all the boys just stuck together and enjoyed it as much as we can. And the dressing room that we had was brilliant.
See, just on that loan move, that Forest Mechanics, because we've had a lot of boys that have came on here, got to the similar level that you're at, and they say that when they went on loan to a lower level, they thought, like, I don't want to ever come back here. I need to really work hard, and if I want to be a top player, I need to put the work in. Was that similar with you?
Well, the move, because Inverness got relegated the season before that, the youth team got scrapped for financial reasons. So I was away. I think it was in Blackpool or something. Don't ask me why, but I think it was my mum and dad in Blackpool or something. And every day I was phoning Charlie Christie, who's the head of the youth, and I was saying, like, what's going on? And eventually he said, the youth team's been scrapped, but the manager wants to keep. It was Terry Butcher now. The manager wants to keep you on and just promote you right up to the first team. So obviously I was delighted with that. It was everything that I wanted. But at that time I wasn't really playing first team games. I should have still been in the 19s. I think I made my debut that year. I only played maybe 1 or 2 games, but it came to January and I thought, like, I'm not playing youth games, I'm not playing first team games, I'm just training. So I need to go on loan. So it was either Devon Vale or Forest Mechanics, and Forest Mechanics was closer to Inverness. And there was a few boys that played there that could take me back and forth from training. So I thought, this is the one for me. I'll just go and play football, experience sort of playing with men, competitive football. And it was brilliant. I won the Highland League Cup there. Was part of a defence that didn't concede a goal in that tournament. And yeah, learned so much from it. The boys were great lads there as well. Took me in, no problem. I was still young. And yeah, it was so beneficial for me. When I went back after that to Inverness, I felt like I could really kick on from there.
And then the fun begins, mate. Terry Butcher. See, did you have to go and ask Terry Butcher to go on loan, or did he come and tell you?
I can't actually remember how it came about. I think it was more like the youth coaches, Scott Kelleher and Charlie Christie. I think it was more sort of them that was sort of in charge of it. And obviously I found out it was Devon Vale or Forest, but I don't think Terry Butcher was ever really that involved with it.
So what's your first memories of then? What's your first memories of just you and Terry Butcher?
My first memories with Terry Butcher, I was a young lad, and I was quite a shy guy when I was younger. And he was obviously came in. He was such a big presence, and I remember it was a first team game, and I was obviously in early as a young boy getting everything ready, and I had earphones in, and I had one in and one hanging out, and he absolutely tore me apart. He tore me apart. So obviously after that, I thought, oh no, what is this? This guy's going to hate me.
What did he say to you? Can you remember what he said to
you? How are you going to hear what I'm saying to you when you've got that headset in and all that? Like, how rude is that? Take that out, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, at the time, took it out, put it in my pocket, and I was like, so sorry. And after he walked out, that way, I was just sitting in my seat like, that's it, I'm done. Like,
yeah. It's mad you think that, isn't it? One incident and you think
that's me done already. And then in the end, he was one of the I've had a good relationships with all my managers in sort of different ways, but Butcher will always hold that sort of special place in terms of he gave me my debut. He gave me a lot of games as a young boy. Even when I went through my illness, I got Crohn's disease, I went through that. He visited me almost every day in hospital, saying, as soon as you're ready to come back, there's a place here, like, you'll get back in the team, like, don't ever worry. So I think in that sort of aspect, he was different class, and he'll always hold that sort of special sort of place in my heart.
I've heard he's a top man that way. Proper looks after his players that way. Nick Ross used to ask you about the psychologist.
I think somebody spoke about it before today, didn't he?
James McPake, wasn't it? James McPake told a few stories.
He used to message me every game saying, like, he used to call me G. So he would say, like, morning G, the key to this game is belief. Be full of belief. Enjoy. And just that, and that would be it. I'd wake up in the morning, that would be my first text. Honestly, it was mad. He used to do some mad stuff. He used to have, like, broccoli and say, like, oh, you have to wear your watch on the other wrist and it does things to your brains and all that. Some people, big Claude Nyakba, the one you're talking about with Richie, he came in for 5 minutes and he was like, nah, this is not for me, and he just walked out. Some people enjoyed it, some people didn't, but he tried to get us, his aim was to try and get us to feel comfortable in the top six, because we were a small club, happy to sort of survive, and he wanted to sort of change the mindset of trying to get us to be a top six club and feel comfortable with it. And some of the things he done was good, and some of the things were weird.
What about Butcher's team talks? Could they be quite funny?
He went through a phase of the boys had to do it. So, like, every person took a team talk.
No way.
Aye. And then he had ones that he would, what animal would you be? Or I got abused one time because the boys used to think too much, didn't they? They used to think, right, what's he going to be buzzing off? So he asked, like, oh, what if you could be a character from a film or something, what would you be? And I was like, please don't pick me. Please don't pick me. He used to call me Shinbone. So he's like, Shinbone, what about you? And I was like, I'd probably be Dodger from Oliver Twist, because I'm a cheeky wee chappie like that. And as soon as I said to me, I thought, oh no, what have I done? What have I done? And for, honestly, months and months, the boys tortured me. Absolutely tortured me, mate. It was hell. It was hell.
What did Butcher say to your answer? Did he like it?
Oh, I loved it. He loved that sort of stuff. Like, that's what he sort of wanted you to do. He asked me what animal would I be, and I said elephant, because the obvious reasons. And he just started laughing. Everyone started laughing.
What was the obvious reasons? A big cock?
My trunk.
All right, sorry.
I had my sloggies on it that time.
Well, can you remember any other funny answers at any other boys' game?
I can't remember. I remember one team talk he done, or maybe it was after the game. Nick Ross, actually, you're saying about Nick Ross. Nick Ross was the wee guy that done nothing wrong. He was, honestly, he would never step a foot out of line.
Good player, Nick Ross.
Aye, very good. But he came in one time, and I don't know what Nick had done. I don't know why he sort of went for him. But he was like, you need to man up. Like, you're too slight. You're too prim and proper. Like, I can imagine you going home, having all your socks and your boxers laid out for the next day. He's like, go and put a brick through McDonald's window. Go and get yourself in the jail and that. Give us a bit. And Nick Ross was just sitting there like, what is going on?
Oh, I mean, anyone that knows Nick Ross, that's tremendous, isn't it?
Oh, it was brilliant, mate. And you couldn't laugh at the time, because he used to go off his head. He would literally go to the point where he didn't know what he was saying. Yeah. And you couldn't do anything. You just had to sort of let him be. And then after he went out the door, he had one, he was going mental, and then he went to storm out the door and he slammed the door. And it was one of those slow shutting doors, so he slammed it and then it just slowly closed. But he was mad. But then he would come in on a Monday and apologise all the time and be like,
would you apologise, eh?
All the time, mate. He would say, like, oh, obviously went off my head, but when I've looked back, because some of the games you'd do all right. One of the games we had at Celtic Park, I think we got beat 1-0, but we should have got a draw. We played well in the game. But I think the fans were obviously singing like Diego Maradona and that and winding him up. Yeah. So he came in after the game and I think he ripped one of the doors off. And, like, the Celtic Park dressing rooms, everyone's got their own sort of wardrobe sort of thing. Yeah. He ripped one of them doors off and threw it across the room. He was, honestly, and we had done well in the game. He would come in on Monday and say, I've watched the game back, like, I apologise, like, there was a lot of positives to take from the game and all that. But
I think I was a reserve player at that time, and we got changed in the away dressing room, and one Monday morning, one of the lockers had been. I remember that.
He ripped it off. He was like, we had silver hampers. He would punch them like 5 or 6 times, and we'd done all right in the game. So all the lads are thinking like, we've actually done all right here. Like, what's going on? But that's what you felt coming off the game. If you hadn't won, you didn't know what way it was going to go, because he would start off slow, and he would start. He was also like winding himself up in his head, and he would just go and go and go, and then you'd get to a point where he's gone, and he would just go mental.
Would anyone ever answer him back?
Nah, never. I remember Johnny Hayes had one. He threw his pen down on the ground, and it bounced up, bashed off the roof, burst open, and it hit Johnny in the head. And Johnny had ink running down his face, and he couldn't even wipe it, because he knew if Butcher seen him wiping it, he would go mental. So Johnny's just got ink dripping down his face. Oh, mad! That was mad.
Mate, try not to laugh at that, though.
Yeah, he had one where he was going mental at the centre half, saying like, any chance you're putting in a tackle, and he went to do a tackle, slipped on his arse, flat out on his, and nobody could laugh. And then he came in on the Monday and had a meeting, and he was like, who wanted to laugh? And everyone just burst out laughing.
Oh, that's amazing, man. Was it Maurice Malpass, his assistant?
Mo was his. Well, he had a bit of a run in with Richie. He was a bit different. They were both old school, very old school.
Yeah.
And I think Richie had like shouted something off the pitch to him during the game, shut up or something. I don't know what it was. I think it would have been a bit worse than shut up, but. And then in the dressing room, Mo was saying to him, like, don't ever do that to me. I'll take you in the boot room and batter you in that. Richie's like, nah, you won't. You won't. And Mo's like, I will. And Richie's like, nah, you won't. And Mo's like, I'll take you out Monday morning and I'll run the bollocks off you. And Richie's like, you might do that. You won't batter me. You will not batter me. I was like, wow. He's the only man that could have spoke back to either one of them.
What? So see when he spoke back to Butcher though, and Butcher kind of be all right with it?
I can't remember any that he did, but he was the man that he would have if he didn't feel like it was right, he would have stood up for it. Like,
mate, I tell this story every time somebody mentions Richie's story. Richie Ford, I done the B licence for me with 14-year-old kids, and he was slaughtering them, man. It was like, wow.
He's like that. That's what I'm saying. When I came through as a young boy, and like, you're always nervous when you go up with the first team, and if you didn't find his feet, he would go mad at you. But then on the flip side of that, it gets you ready for first team football. So it was good on the flip side.
He's a top man, mate. Is he off the training, off the B licence now? He was top. I was his partner. So
he's a great guy. He's a great guy.
Right, mate. Just on the football, what position? So see when you came through, always left back.
Now, when I grew up, so when I signed first for Inverness in the 17s, I was a centre mid. And then at the end of that season, the under-19s, the left back, it was a young lad from Aberdeen, I think. He got thrown out. He was in the digs, and I think he threw the dinner in the digs used to be horrendous. It was like microwave food. So I think he, instead of putting it in the bin, he took it up to his room and launched it out the window.
I used to do that all the time.
And I think it was like lasagna or something. The boys told me at the time, and it landed on the next door neighbour's windscreen of his car. And he loved his car. He used to clean his car like every day. So he came to the door and went mental. And I think the guy was already sort of going to get released. So he got released. There was like 5 games to go in the 19 season. So they took me up and they played me at left back. And then from then on, I played left back for Inverness. So that's sort of how I changed.
Mate, I know. I was a centre midfielder as well, though. But see, getting told you're going to go and play fullback, were you not devastated?
I hated it because I'd played centre mid all the time and I loved it. I could run about and I scored a few goals for the 17s. I could get involved, and then they threw me at left back. And to be fair, at the time I was buzzing because I went full time for the last sort of month or 2 months of the season at 19. So I was getting a look at full time football.
Yeah.
And I was staying in the digs, and I was buzzing. I was just buzzing to be there. But yeah, I would have rather have stayed and played centre mid, but. As I went on, I grew to sort of love the position, and it took me through into the first team and ended up sort of playing my games there.
Yeah, how much pressure for a back four though when Terry Butcher's your manager? Was it usually, because see with the Canio, mate, was it always the strikers that would get it because he played that position? Was it similar with the defenders?
All the time.
Yeah.
all the time. He's the man. He's the reason why every game I wear studs. I cannot wear molds, because if I ever wore molds with him and I slipped, he would torture me. He would an absolute. He used to cane me at the back post. I think I played Dunfermline one time. I think it was Andy Barrowman or something, scored a header at the back post above me, and he crucified me, mate. He absolutely tortured me, and I was like, I'm like 5'8". Like, what do you expect from me? He's obviously 6'5" or something. But I always remember him at Celtic Park. I had a debut before, but this was sort of my big debut. It was at Celtic Park. It was in the cup. It was in the League Cup, so it wasn't as important. He played a 5 at the back, so I was sort of a wing back, and David Proctor was the right wing back. And by half time, we're 4-0 down. Samras scored 2 off the right, so he was playing on the left on David Proctor's side. So he had scored 2 in the game, so he came in at half time. He was going mental, and he said to David Proctor, if he comes inside one more time and scores, you're off. Like, I'm not having it anymore. A minute into the second half, Samras inside, whippy, hat trick, mate, the board goes straight up, off you come, Proctor off, mate. I was like, this guy's ruthless, man. Got beat 6-0.
Did he torture him after the game?
Nah, he got beat 6-0.
Wow. Horrible. Right, mate. Your brother joined in 2011. How was that for you? Was it a bit strange?
Well, it was me that sort of got the wheels in motion with it, because his agent at the time, he obviously had left Rangers, which was the best thing for him. He had a lot of injuries. So the best thing was to get away from there and try and play football. He actually played in a trial game at Inverness. There was an 11-a-side, 2 teams, loads of players, and he actually played in it, which, looking back on it, was mad. But after that, his agent was like, "Oh, Inverness don't want you. Like, they've told us that they don't want you. You're going to Falkirk." Wow. So he was like, I mean, I don't mind going to Falkirk, but so he phoned me, and I says to him, I don't know, I've not really heard anything. So then I asked the manager at the time, it was Butcher, and I said, like, oh, I'm just nervous as anything again. Oh, I'm just like.
Wait, did you chap his door? Did you go and chap his office door?
I had to go and chap his door, which had about 15 holes in it. But I had to go and chap his door. Honestly, my hand was shaking, not in it. So I went in, I said, oh, it's just about my brother. He doesn't sort of know what's going on. He sort of wants to come here, but his agent's telling him that you don't want him. And he's like, no, we want him. Like, I want to sign him. I don't know why he's saying that. So I phoned my brother and said, look, they're desperate to have you. Like, I don't know what your agent's talking about, but they want you here. So then after that, Andrew wanted to come to Inverness. Everyone sort of came from there. He ended up signing. We moved in together, so which was because he moved away at sort of 15. We're close growing up, and then we obviously spent a lot of time apart. So when we moved in together, it was quality. It was good to sort of be back together. Playing in the same team was quality. So yeah, it was a good laugh, and the 2 years that we had was good.
Just shows you my agent, eh?
Well, I think he had done a few deals to Falkirk before, and he sort of, I don't know, maybe owed them one. I don't know, but terrible. Obviously I was desperate to have him here with me as well. So yeah, I was buzzing when he came up and signed. It was quality, and we had that 2 years living together. It was different class.
Your brother never struck me as a Terry Butcher type player, but he was absolutely flying there, mate, wasn't he? Good player.
He loved it, but Butcher, Andrew used to get a bit of a hard time because he became the main man for Inverness, and he expected, it was the same as Johnny Hayes, he expected so much of these boys because these were the boys that used to win you games. And I remember we played the game at Stenhousemuir away. One of those cup games, it was on the AstroTurf, it was horrendous. And Andrew had got these new Nike boots. They were white and green. They were more green than white. And obviously that didn't sit well with Butcher already. So we played the first half. I think we were getting beat 1-0. And he absolutely tortured Andy. And he said, fucking green boots? You're better off with Dr. Martens. Somebody's just sitting there like I didn't know what to say.
He's going to be like a youth team at Rangers, mate. Nobody says a word to you, and now he's getting fucking slaughtered.
Tortured, mate, and he used to get it all the time. But Butcher was that way. He was demanding of them sort of players because he knew what they could do. But on the flip side of that, he'd be credit them when they done well. So it was the best of both.
What was it like playing against your brother? Aberdeen v Hibs 2017 Scottish Cup. Was that strange? Did you kick him?
I think I did once actually, but he thought he was playing in the build up to it. He was in training that he was like, "Oh, I'm in the team and that like be good." And then I obviously thought I was going to be playing, so we're both buzzing. And then on the day of it, he messaged me saying, "Oh, I've been bombed," like fuming and that. He was gutted. But then when he came on, yeah, there wasn't much between us. I think I tackled him once or something maybe, but I can't remember if we were winning at the time or if we scored when he was on. But from both of us to sort of come from where we were in Aberdeen, playing in the Garden and all that, to then playing in a semi-final at Hampden, when you sort of take a step back and look at it, for the family and everyone involved, it was so good.
Amazing. Last bit I need to ask you, Inverness, in the Butcher era, is a guy, asked Adam Rooney about him as well, one of the funniest guys I've played with, mate, Lee Cox.
Oh, mad. Him and Johnny Hayes were mad. The two of them, I think they got barred from every pub and nightclub in Inverness. They'd be naked in the toilets. They were mad, mate. We Johnny at Inverness, I swear his schedule was like drink from Sunday to Thursday, train on Friday, play on Saturday, and then drink again, mate. He was
still be the best player for me, innit? He'd still be the best player.
And he played every week because Butcher knew what he could do. And Johnny was a player that he could do nothing for 60 minutes and then run down the line, whip a ball in and score. And Butcher was buzzing.
So did Butcher not mind that? Did Butcher not mind that Johnny would go out Sunday and Thursday now?
I don't know if he knew. I don't think he'd have been too happy, but I think if he was doing the job on the pitch, I don't think Butcher was bothered. Butcher was old school, so Butcher, when he was a player, he would probably go to the pubs after training. That was his sort of era. So as long as you were doing it on the pitch, I don't think he would really care.
Yeah. Were you devastated to see Butcher go then?
Aye, I was at the time. We were doing well. We were flying. I loved Butcher. I loved his style. I loved sort of his no nonsense. I know a lot of people sort of didn't like when he went mad after games. And I didn't mind it. I quite liked it. He was so demanding of you. It kept you on your toes. And then when we also heard that he was going to be going, it was he loved the Highlands as well. So it was like, I know Hibs are a massive club and it was a good move for him, but he had it good at Inverness. He had a good lifestyle, a good team. He had built a good team. So at the time it was like gutted that he's going, and then Big Yogi came in and.
Wait, just to go on before, did Butcher bring you on the dressing room and tell you he was away?
Well, it went on for a few. We actually played Hibs when it was going on. So I don't think he was in for the week building up to it, and then Mo took the team. And I think we won 2-0, or we won the game. We played well that day. And Mo sort of said after the game, like, this is it. Like, the manager's agreed to go to Hibs. I've agreed my stuff. It was quite emotional, actually. It was because they had been there for so long. The group had grown.
Some few boys in tears.
Well, Big Mo was sort of doing his speech after the game, and he was sort of welling up a bit. And I don't think so much the boys, but it was so together. The dressing room was so together. It was like you were losing sort of a bit of the team, and it was gutting at the time, but we obviously didn't know who was coming in. But as soon as Yogi came in, it all sort of the excitement ramped up again. But it was gutted to see them go. Yeah.
If you think Terry Butcher's a character, John Hughes, man, what a guy, eh? I love him.
Well, when Yogi came in, when I was a young boy at Inverness, when the youth team got scrapped, I was basically a cleaner for a year. There was like 5 boys, and I had to do the kit. I had to wash the kit, dry the kit, put it back out, clean the dressing rooms, clean the gaffer's room. The 5 of us had to do everything. And at the time, Inverness played Hibs, I think it was maybe before that, actually. It was maybe when I was in the 19s. But Inverness played Hibs in a midweek. It was at night. And Inverness won 3-0. They battered Hibs. And then after the game, I went in to clean the away dressing room. So we had put like sandwiches and soup and that into the dressing room for the lads after the game, the Hibs boys. Mate, I went in to clean the dressing room. I swear there was Sannies on the roof. The soup was on the roof, the walls, the carpet. Honestly, there was tuna Sannies on the walls, in the toilets. He must have just either flipped the table or was just throwing the trays about. So after that, and then I seen he was coming in, I was thinking, this guy's mad. Like, this guy's going to be mad. But then when he did eventually come in, he sort of said to the boys, like, I've done that. I've been that manager. I don't want to be that manager anymore. Like, it didn't work, basically. It didn't have any sort of effect. And he was the opposite of Inverness. He was calm. Sometimes after games, he wouldn't even do the team talk because he would say, emotions are high, like, we'll deal with it on Monday. So he was a bit of the opposite.
Yeah. See just on that, sorry to go off track, you and 5 other guys doing the job, do you think that's stood you in good stead throughout your career? Do you think that's helped you?
Definitely, mate, definitely. It's like Scotty Kell. We used to clean the minibuses and find about 100 Monster Munch bags in the minibus, mate, because he would just eat them on the way back from training.
I thought you were going to say you had to clean his pants.
I'd be there all day. But no, the jobs there was days that I'd be in there till me and Nick Ross were the ones that done the kit. So there was days you would put it into wash and then you would put it in the dryer and you'd have to wait until it. There was days we used to turn the lights off in the laundry room and just sleep until it would be ready because we're knackered. But yeah, it was one of those things. You were at a club like Inverness, everyone had to pull together and do these sort of things. So it was what was needed, and you knew sort of once you made that jump to the first team, there'd be a new set of boys that would come in and do them jobs. So you were sort of past that stage. So yeah, it was good. It was all right.
Great grounding, mate. Just on Yogi's, mate. Yogi, sorry. What are some of your funniest memories of him?
Yogi was class. Yogi, he was class. He came in one day, and because I was Richie was the club captain, but I was sort of the playing captain, so I used to speak to him a lot. And he came in. They used to call me Shinbone at Inverness. Terry Butcher started it. I don't know why, but that was my name at Inverness. He came in one day and he said, Shinbone. He had a lisp, and I didn't know where it came from, so he like, Finbone. And I was thinking, what's going on here? Like, and he started chatting away, and he was like, I went out for my lunch yesterday and I bought a baguette. And he said, I took a bite into it. And when I took it away, my 2 front teeth were stuck in the baguette. He had no front teeth, mate. And you know what? Yogi's like, oh, man, it was brilliant. Oh, he was honestly, he was unbelievable. He was so good. But his coaching, is when he was on the training pitch, he was serious. But off the pitch, he was class, man.
What? How did that go for you being like an old school manager with Terry Butcher? I imagine training was quite basic to then Yogi. Was it just total possession? Like, did that help you as well as a player? Bring you on? Yogi's coaching?
Totally. Mate, Terry Butcher used to have us doing like, you'd be in 2 lines and you would just have to barge into each other, like off each other. And I'm like 60 kilograms. I was up against big Tokes. Tokes just putting me down in that. I'm 17. I was like, what's going on here? He used to have drills. You would put a box at each side, maybe like 60 yards apart, and you would literally just switch it back, switch it.
What, you're just booting the ball over 60 yards?
Launching it, mate. It was some of his drills. That's the way he played, and that's what he liked. And it was. He used to go mental at me when I was at left back if I passed it inside and not down the channel. If I passed it inside and played a ledge ball in number 10, he would slaughter me. See, if I got it out my feet, bashed it down the line, it went out for a goal kick, he would buzz off me. I'm like, what is going on here? I don't know what to do here.
It just shows you the difference, so.
And then Yogi,
both work, mate. There's no one way of playing, is there?
And then Yogi came in, and Yogi was the complete opposite. Boxes every day, possessions every day. Yogi's the best footballing coach I've ever had.
Really?
His coaching, mate, I don't know how he's not in a job. Like, it's frustrating because I still chat to him now, and I think like jobs come about, Dundee United's, all these jobs. I'm thinking like you're made for it. Like people don't understand his philosophies. He lives and breathes football. He was in Inverness without his family, so his whole thing was just football, football, football. But I always remember him. We played a pre-season game. It was against Birmingham. My brother went to Birmingham, so I think there was some sort of game arranged.
Right.
And we played really well in the game. We popped it. Even my brother said all their players were saying how good like Inverness were. We got beat 3-1, like, but we played so well in the game. And then Yogi came after it and he said, like, Shinbone, what chance have I got here? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, we've done well. Like, we played well. Like, it's standing us in good stead going into the season. He's like, I know that, but the chairman's just came to me saying, you can't play that style of football in Scotland and get away with it. Like, we'll get beat. Mm-hmm. And I was like to him at the time, I said, well, it's hard for me as a player to sort of, it's you and the chairman, but I says, the style of football that you want to play is the style of football that all of us want you to keep playing. That's the way we want to play. You need to keep doing it. And to be fair, he stuck with it. The boys all bought into it, and what he done with that team, the way we used to play was unbelievable, mate.
Yeah. But I was at Dundee when we played against you, and I remember saying after the game, I think you were the best team. I think it was like the 10th game of the season, maybe 8th. And I remember saying after it, you were the best football team that we'd played. Do you think that's why he's not got a club then? See if your Inverness chairman's saying that, do you think there's other chairmen that then think that as well?
Probably. You're probably right. But on the flip side of that, from what he'd done with that Inverness team, because to be fair, that Inverness team was mainly players that Butcher had sort of taken up from the lower leagues in England and played his way, but Yogi took that team on and moulded it into how he wanted to play it.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at on it in that aspect, what he done with that team at Inverness, with the facilities he had, everything that he had at Inverness, it was a small club, there's not a lot of money. He was fighting for everything he could get. He was trying to get new sort of training gear and new goals and that, he couldn't get it. So looking at that point of view, what he done with that team was, it'll never happen again.
What's a Yogi team taught like, Shane?
It was more tactical than motivational. Yeah. He knew what he wanted from the boys. He used to say to everyone, if you're not ready for it, like if you're overweight, if you're unfit, you'll get left behind. Like, you won't fit in here. You need to every day be at it, on top of it. And his team talks were more how we wanted to play, who we were playing against, how you would get into the pockets and get the men in the pockets, get them the ball, get them turning. It was all that sort of stuff that I used to do, and honestly, it was so good. It was enjoyable.
What about Latte? How was Latte?
Oh, wee Russ was mad. He just used. I think he came to Inverness, played golf, smoked fags, and.
I don't know what the other one is. I know what the third one is.
He had plenty of them all.
Would he join in the training, Lappy?
He was a joke. He was unbelievable. He used, not all of it. He used to do the boxes. He used to join in with the boxes, and he never gave it away. He was unreal. He used to help the front players more than sort of taking training as such. Yogi done a lot of the training because that's how he was. He was a coach. He's seen himself as a coach, whereas some managers that I've had don't take much of the training. The coaches do more of it, and then they do the team talks and whatever else. But Yogi was everything. He used to do sort of everything. But Russ was good. He was so chilled. He used to love golf. He used to play 18 holes, come in, have his lunch, and go and play another 18 holes after it. And then used to play away games in Dundee United and that, and you'd be sitting on the bus waiting to go, and Russ would be like round the corner, and you just see him like just puffing away, and you'd be waiting for him. You'd be waiting for him to go, and you just like chilled out, didn't have a care in the world. It was a good dressing room. The staff were good. Scott Kell's a great lad.
I know we've slaughtered him, but Kelleher's the man, isn't he?
Oh, honestly, my wife now and her family are family friends with Kel and his sort of family. Yeah. So we're still really, really close. But he's I've had him since 17s to 19s to first team. He texted me before actually this saying that he was telling me that he was slaughtering me and that.
And fair play to Yogi, mate. He brought him up for the youth team, didn't he? He's seen someone in Kells.
Well, Yogi used to, tactically and all that, speak to Kel a lot about it, because Kel's an unreal coach as well.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
And I always used to say, I don't know if he's made out to be a manager as such, but I always told him, like, you need to push for the manager's job at Inverness. Like, you can do it. You're coaching. When I had him at the 19s, it was Alec Cleland and Scotty Kell, and they were brilliant. Alec Cleland was a great coach as well when I was young.
Was he, mate? Was Alec Cleland good?
He was so good. He was
in
so
what way?
good. Just not even so much like tactically, or just as a guy, as a coach in a youth team, moulding you into sort of getting you ready for a first team. I don't know. I just loved playing under him and Kel as I went through. And every time I see him when I used to play St Johnstone, I used to chat to him all the time. He was a great guy. So yeah, to be fair, the coaches that I've had through my career have been great. So it's been easier.
Right, mate. I need to ask you got 2 cup finals under Yogi. One being the League Cup final with Aberdeen. We've only had 5 Aberdeen players that played on that day. What was it like being on the losing side? It was
the worst game of football.
Yeah.
Apart from my Scotland debut against Kazakhstan, it was the worst game of football I've ever played, mate. Nobody wanted to win. It was like both teams were sort of defending and not wanting to sort of go all out to win.
Yeah.
So it was the most boring game of football you'll ever see.
Yogi would hate that. Would Yogi not hate that you were playing like that?
Aye, but he had I think he had just came in, so his first 6 months, he didn't want to change too much. He was like, you've been doing well. I'm not going to tamper with it too much. Once I get a pre-season, then we'll work on everything that I want to do. But the end of the season, I don't have enough time to change it that much. So I'm going to stick with it as much as I can, and then we'll take it next season. So yeah, from what I remember of the game, it was boring. That's the best I can describe it. It's just boring.
Are you going to take a penalty?
I was. I always used to want to take the first penalty as a captain. I wanted to take the first penalty. I done it. It's weird how it works, because in the semi-final we beat Hearts on pens. I missed the first one, and then the year after in the Scottish Cup we played Hearts, or was it? No, the year before I missed, and the first year, sorry, I scored, right, and we went out. We got put out, and then the next year, the cup final you're talking about, I missed the first pen against Hearts in the semi, and we went through. So it was like, I always wanted to take the first pen, and then during the extra time, I think it was Cammy Smith or something, absolutely wiped me out, took me out. I think it was my ankle or something. And I was like, I'm not in a position where I feel comfortable taking a pen. So I let sort of the other boys, all the other boys were like, yeah, I want to take one. So I was like, look, I'm struggling a wee bit. I'll let these boys do it. If it goes on to 6-7, I'll take one. And then looking back on it now, I should have taken them all.
See, when you play for a club like Inverness, do you think that's your chance of winning a cup gone?
Yeah, at that stage, Yogi hadn't sort of put his spin on the team, so we didn't know what was coming.
Yeah.
And at that point, the way the game went, it was so boring. It was 0-0. You thought, we need to nick a goal here and we can win. It was harsh though as well, because we're at Celtic Park. I think the Commonwealth Games were on at Hampden or something, so it was at Celtic Park. And Aberdeen had about 40 or 50,000 people, and we had about 8. So it was like an away game for us. It was like we were playing away from home, which we loved it in Inverness. We sort of had that mentality of we're always underdogs, so we did enjoy it. But I don't know. I think it was made for Aberdeen to sort of win the cup that day.
How was that journey home?
I can't even remember it. I actually can't even remember it. I can remember the ones we've won.
Because I've heard of it. I'd ask you about something like that.
But the one that we lost, I just think the boys had a few beers on the bus on the way back, because it was such a long trip home.
Yeah.
And after that, I don't think we were too sort of. Everyone was down because we got beat, but for Inverness to be in amongst cup finals was good. So to be there and amongst it was good. So we sort of looked at it as if we'll go again next year. We'll have a few beers together on the bus, and it was sort of just chilled all the way home. It was a good journey. It wasn't too depressing.
And you'd agreed to go to Aberdeen after the game anyway. It was January, you agreed to go to Aberdeen. Honestly, I'm not just saying this, right? When you were at Inverness, when I said you were playing Dundee, I thought you were the best left back in the league. I actually thought you were going to Celtic and Rangers. So, was there any other interest, or was it only ever Aberdeen?
Well, that summer after that cup final, Aberdeen tried to buy me, I think, for 250 grand or something, and Inverness rejected it. They wouldn't. They seen Inverness. I think Aberdeen had taken maybe a couple of players, and they didn't want to be like a feeder club to Aberdeen. They didn't want to be seen as that. So they said no. They rejected it. So I sort of knew Aberdeen were keen on taking me, which was a good feeling at the time. And then I'd played the first 6 months, done well, was enjoying my football under Yogi. And then obviously my contract was out and I could speak to a few clubs. And Aberdeen still at that point, Derek McInnes was after me. Like, he was on me all the time. Once he wants a player, he'll go all out to try and get you. And it's good. It makes you feel so good. He tried to buy me again in the January. And because we were doing well in the league, Inverness at the time took a bit of a risk and thought, we're going well, we could achieve more with you in the team than selling you for the money. So I was like, that's fine. Like, I'm enjoying my football here. I'm in no desperate need to leave. If you don't want to sell me, then so be it. And it worked out obviously good that the way that the season finished. But yeah, I spoke to Yogi. Yogi was fine. He knew sort of how it worked at Inverness. You would always, players were, if you do well, you're always going to move on and try and go sort of up. It was a great club, Inverness, but it was a small club, and you always wanted to sort of progress up. I had a few sort of offers from down south. Birmingham were watching me because my brother was there, and I'd played well in the pre-season game.
Yeah.
So they were watching.
Celtic and Rangers were interested?
Rangers weren't. Celtic were sniffing about, but I actually think I got my agent to ask the question, and they were like, just now, like, it's a no, like, we're not interested. And I was like, that's fine. Like, I wasn't pestering to go there. It was. I think Yogi was actually saying about it because he was good friends with John Collins at the time. So I think he was sort of maybe saying to them, like, you need to take him. Like, he's really good. But it didn't happen. And my wife had just had a baby in, I think it was February the 10th. She'll do me in for not remembering the little one's birthday. But yeah, so we had the baby on the way, and we didn't want to move so far away from family with a newborn, being still only 23. Aberdeen was the perfect move. So at that point, with the feeling that Derek McInnes, what he was giving me and what he was saying, it made me feel wanted, and that's where I see myself going. A lot of people thought I was going to go down south and play down there, but at the time I thought Aberdeen's the place that I want to go, and in the end it was a good move for me.
Just to think, obviously we need to speak about the Scottish Cup final. Need to talk about the semi-final as well. What's your memories? Obviously the controversial handball. How close are you to that handball?
I was right beside it and I thought, oh no. Right away I thought, oh no. And then whatever the sixth official or whatever it was behind the goal, I thought, well, he's obviously going to see it. And then when I think the ball maybe came to me, I can't remember now. And I was thinking, right, he's going to blow up. And then nothing happened. And I just started running with the ball. And I was thinking, how have we got away with that? Like, and then, to be fair, in the end, Celtic were still 1-0 up at the time. It should have been 2-0 by man sent off. And I know that makes a massive difference. And the game's potentially over. But they were still 1-0 up. And they still had a strong team against us. So it wasn't like that brought it back to sort of we were then winning, or we were holding on to a 1-0 win and there was 5 minutes to go. There was still a long way to go in the game. And obviously with the sending off for them, it changed the game completely. So no, it was good. The memories of the game, just very good again. It showed how you play.
After that game, is Yogi the type that would be jumping up and down in the dressing room with the boys?
Oh, 1,000,000%. 1,000,000%. He loved it. But it showed again in the winning goal. I think it was I had a shot come cross from the left back that David Raven at right back scored it.
Scored too, he did.
So I think that showed how, and this was against Celtic in a semi-final at Hampden. I know they were down to 10 men, but it showed what Yogi wanted us to go to Celtic Park and play out from the back and pass it round them and keep the ball. That's what he expected of us. And even in that game, that's what he wanted. After the game, we were all buzzing. And then going into the final, it was a bit strange because then you were playing Falkirk and they were in the league below, and then we were the favourites, which we never used to be. Yeah. So it was a completely different feeling.
Mate, I was just going to say, teams now are only just doing the two full-backs up the pitch. Inverness were doing it 5 years ago.
Well, that's the way he wanted to be. He wanted the wingers to go into the pockets inside, and we had me who just wanted to run up and down all day long. And he had David Raven who used to do the same. So it used to it used to work for us. You had Aaron Doran who used to cut in, Marley Watkins get on the ball, play balls to Billy Mackay. We had a good sort of understanding as a team, and I played in that back four with Josh Meekins, Gary Warren and David Raven, who we knew each other inside out, and the whole team just clicked. Really, we all clicked together. We all knew what each other wanted, and it was a good team, that.
Right, mate, the final. What's your memories? He's never played as good as I thought you would.
Nah, I don't think we played great in the game. Not at all. We played well in the semi against Celtic, but in the final it was, I don't know, we maybe were a little bit nervous, a little bit tentative. We went 1-0 up, which was crucial, I thought, because it might ease us off a wee bit. And I thought we were all right. The second half, they come in it a lot more, but up until that, I thought, right, we're comfortable here. And then Tremarco obviously getting sent off out of nowhere. So I think it was our corner, got cleared out to him, bad touch. Then he took the boy down and got sent off.
You expect that from Tremarco, so don't you, that bad touch?
And then everything obviously changed from there. And then when they scored, it was like, oh no, like.
Is Yogi inside at that point? Is Yogi going off his nut, or is he still quite calm?
Nah, he was. When you're on the pitch, you don't really realise what's going on at the side, like unless he's screaming at you individually. But as a footballer, I think in your head at the time you're thinking, "Oh no!" Like the big final that we're supposed to win here is going the opposite way. Like, and then having the players that we did, Marley Watkins running up the pitch. James Vincent, who had came on, who was fresh as anything, which was ideal. And I don't know, it was obviously just meant to be. The ball obviously fell perfectly for him. He put it in. We had to defend for our lives. I think I played right back at the start because David Raven was injured, didn't play the game. So Tremarco came in left back. I played right back. Then I think he moved me to centre mid, and then he moved me to left back again. And I think I finished at right back. So I think the boys sort of had that mentality of, we just need to win here. We need to hold on to what we've got, get through it. The final whistle goes, and obviously then after that you're absolutely buzzing. Like the relief of it was mad. It was so good. And then obviously being the captain and being able to lift it was a dream come true, and it's something that I'll never ever forget.
And what about the bus on the way back? Did he stop at a roundabout? Is that true?
We stopped everywhere. So obviously we're 4 or 5 hours from Glasgow with the traffic and everything else. By the time we were going to get home to Inverness, everywhere would have been shut. Like, so the party was on the bus, and I think I actually got drug tested after it. So I missed parts of, like, when the boys all went back into the dressing room. I was in the room for the testing. It was brutal. That's
the one day that the testing should be scrapped, man.
Horrendous. So I missed sort of a little bit of it, but then we got on the bus. And I don't think Yogi he had been drinking like previous years to it. I think he was off it. And then obviously winning the Scottish Cup, he was like, I'm on it.
Yeah.
So he used to come up, he used to be sitting at the front. I don't think he sat in his seat for more than 5 minutes. He would come down the bus. He loved Aaron Doran. He loved him. Aaron was a good character in the dressing room. He would just like kick him in the back of the bus and all that. We used to always stop in Auchterarder. We stopped there. Everyone got off the bus. Yogi stopped the traffic. We're all singing and dancing. It was sort of the Yaya Colo sort of that period. So we're all like, yeah. Everyone was dancing. The traffic was all stopped, beeping the horn and all that.
I love that.
Went into the pub there, had a load of drinks in there. Back on the bus, we're getting steaming on the bus. So we're going up the A9, and Yogi's like that to the driver. You're stopping at the next lay-by. Pull in. I'm telling you, pull into the lay-by. So the driver's like, what's going on here? So he pulls into the lay-by. Yogi's like, off the bus. Everyone off the bus. So we all got off the bus. He's like, right, get in a formation. Everyone line up in groups of 4. So we're all steaming. This is on the A9, which is one of the most dangerous roads in Scotland. Right, get in a line. When we get back to the stadium, everyone's going to be waiting for us. So we need to prepare a routine. This is what he was saying. So we all got in a line and we were all singing, yeah. And then he was like, everyone, once we get to a certain point, spread out. And I want James Vincent, the match winner, to come right through the middle. So mate, we're on like the main road. There's cars like coming past it. We're actually on the main road. And everyone's singing and that. And Yogi's like, come on. And James Vincent runs through with the Scottish Cup. Honestly, it was so good. And it was better because that's all we had. We weren't going to go out that. We had a party at the stadium. Everywhere was shut by the time we got home, but everybody just went into one of the suites at the stadium there and just got steaming. It was so good. They're the best days in football. Yeah. They're unbelievable.
I was going to say, would that be the best day of your career? One of the best days of your career?
That's the best bus journey I've ever had in my life. Ever. It was, honestly, no one, even boys like Liam Polworth, who didn't really like drinking and wasn't really a mad one for getting, was on the booze. Like, everyone was steaming. The secretary, Jim Faulkner, was steaming. Oh, it was so good. It was so good.
Yeah, it's a pure fairy tale way to finish it, man, at Inverness.
Yeah, it was, and like the few weeks before we had secured Europe and secured third. I actually think if we didn't have the Scottish Cup, we potentially could have focused on getting second in the league. Aberdeen were decent at the time, but I felt like we were a better team than Aberdeen that year, and I felt like because we had the Scottish Cup as well, it maybe took the focus away a little bit. But third was still, for the club to get into Europe was unreal.
Right, mate, you go to Aberdeen. Your old mates are there, Adam Rooney and Johnny Hayes. Does that make it easier when you walk in? You know, the two guys, especially because they're characters as well.
Aye, definitely. I felt like I'd been at Aberdeen for years. I met up with them, so I had the cup final, which went on longer than their season. So they had a week off before me. So the manager gave me an extra week off, and then I met up with them in St Andrews for the little sort of pre-season trip away. And like you say, Adam Rooney used to torture me. Honestly, his banter was horrendous.
Oh, it's terrible.
Oh, so I can't even explain how bad it was. Honestly, like he was a 5-year-old having banter. But every day would be a nose joke, and it was honestly it was that way. He was trying to get you to bite, and I never used to give him the bite. But to have that when I went down was good. And Johnny was there. I had Peter Pollitt and Ryan Jack, who had played Scotland 21s with, and Kenny. So I felt like I knew most of the boys. So I'd felt like I'd went. Reynolds is easy to get on with. Jamie Langfield was good at the time when I joined. So it felt like I'd been there for years. And when I went down and played with him, I settled, no bother, and it was fine.
Kenny McLean told us the chocolate box prank that went wrong. Was that common? Because I've seen videos of boys knocking water over the doors with each other. Is it constantly in that dressing room, pranks and that?
Kenny McLean done that to me one time. So I used to dish out the tickets as a captain for the games, the comps. And they had done that on the top of the door waiting for somebody to walk in. And I walked in and it sort of spilt down on my hands and that. It didn't really get me on. It spilt my hands in the tickets. So I was like, well done, lads, blah, blah, blah. And then like an hour later, I was trying to dish the tickets out and mate, they were all stuck together. And I was like, oh no. Kenny, I was like, Kenny, what have you done? He's like, I pissed in it.
Was it pish?
Pish, aye. I couldn't get the tickets apart. I couldn't peel them apart, mate. They were all stuck together in that. Must have been all sorts in that cup. But yeah, the boys, the chocolate story, I think Kenny's told it already. It's one of the best you'll ever hear.
So you saw there while it was going on. Who was it? Who was the guy that got it done to?
It was Wes Burns. So Wes Burns had given, so he had a hamper from his agent, like the agency, it was a Harrods hamper or something.
Oh, nice.
And he left it obviously in his place, and the boys, so Kenny and that, took the chocolates out, ate the chocolates, they were brilliant by the way, then had a shite in it, smeared it so it didn't look, wrapped it back up, wrapped it back in the big box, and it looked brand new. You would never have noticed.
Wow.
And everyone sort of forgot about it. Like, it sort of like, it went unnoticed until like sort of January, I don't know, when we came back, mid-January, say, and the boys were sort of on, I think it was on the away game, on the bus on the way down, and it must have clicked with someone thinking like, I wonder where that box is. Like, what's he done with it? So then the boys sort of started making jokes with him, like Wes, what happened to that hamper? Did it taste like shite or what? Like, having a laugh, right? So the boys are like having that banter, and Wes is like, what's going on here? Like, and he's like, I've given that hamper to my neighbour because they looked after my dogs over Christmas. And mate, as soon as he said that, all the boys were like, oh no, like, we're going to have to tell him that. So one of them told him, and he was like, nah, please tell me you're joking. Like, please tell me you're joking. Like, I've gave it to her. I don't know if she's opened it or not. Like, I don't know what's went on. So then we said to him, look, you're going to have to text her, like, and say to her, like, that Harrods hamper that I gave you, whatever you do, don't eat the chocolates. So I think he done it. And
well, did he phone her on the bus or text her on the bus?
He texted her. He texted her on the bus, like, a massive thing, because he was nervous as well, because it was like, he was like, oh, like, is there anything wrong with this? Like, can she, like, phone the police or that on me? Like, I've gave her a box of shite. So he's like, well, she could torture me here or that. So then the boy's like, right, you're going to have to text her. So he texted her, basically saying, do not open that hamper. Like, I'm so sorry, but the boys thought it was funny to have a shite in the chocolates. The boys thought it was funny to have a shite in the chocolate, so please don't eat it. And to be fair to I think it was an older lady, maybe, she messaged back saying like, oh, what are them boys like? I'll throw it in the bin or something. Oh mate, it was honestly the best story you'll ever hear, man.
Yeah, that could be one of my favourite stories on here.
So good. Honestly, there was shite everywhere in our dressing room. Like, Johnny Hayes would know that nobody would mess with him because he would shite in your gear or something. So nobody used to bother with Johnny. I think Shay Logan, before a game, went into his safe and there was a bag of shite. No one knows who it was. Honestly, it's mad.
Shay Logan's got a safe?
Well, everyone had their safe. Like, so you had your peg, and you had 4 places for your boots, and one was a safe for your phone and your... Yeah, somebody went to the stadium manager, got a key, went in his... I don't know who it was. I've got my suspects, but I don't know who it was, and put a shite in his locker. So he's went in when he's came in before a game, and he said, what is this? And it's a bag of shite. Horrible.
What's Logan like? I played against him when he was at Brentford. What was he like?
Great guy. Honestly, a really good guy. You could wind him up, no bother. He was one of these guys that was, he said it how it was, like, he was straight up. The boys used to torture him. He'd buy new trainers, they would steal them. Like, he wouldn't get them back. I think it was maybe Greg Stewart or someone. He thought it was them. So he bought a fish from Morrison's or something, put it in Greg's car, and Greg went straight to the CCTV, and it seen him doing it, so he got done for that. Aberdeen dressing room for pranks, and that was very good. Actually, it was really good.
Now, who would it be then? Kenny McLean, Johnny Hayes, or?
At that point, it was them. There was Greg Stewart, Nicky Maynard. Loved it.
Hey, Maynard like it, isn't it?
Oh mate, but they were so clued on that you would never, like, you couldn't prove it was them, but you knew it was them. But like was
Maynard gone to the shites as well?
Nah, not the shite. That was more
Maynard.
Like, they were not that. They were more like, so we had a finalist at Aberdeen, and we had like the spin the wheel. So you would have, like, if you wear the wrong kit or use the wrong towels, so they'd be in before training switching all the towels. So the boys would use the wrong ones. But then one day so they always used to do it in the morning. and I never used to know who it was, and I was in charge of the fines, so I had to try and find out who it was. And there was a fine on the thing, 100 quid if you got caught stitching someone. Right. So if you got caught switching the towels, you'd have to pay 100 quid. So I went to the sport analysis guy, and I said, look, have you got like a GoPro or something for me, and I can try and catch them? He said, well, I've not got a GoPro, but I've got this wee camera that basically records 24 hours. So you'll get to see it. So I was like, nah, I've got a better idea than that. So then before training, we had a meeting, and I said to the lads, like, look, I know there's been people tampering with towels and that. I don't know who it is, but right now in this dressing room, you can either own up to it and pay 100 quid, or, and I took out the wee camera, I said, you can pay £100 for every time you've done it, and I'll see it on this camera. Mate, you have never seen boys melt so much in all of your life. Danny Rogers' face went white. He's like, oh, I done one. Big Kari Arneson, who is the Iceman from Iceland, no expressions on his face. I done one. I think Adam Rooney done one, so he was at that. And then you've got Nicky Maynard and Greg Stewart, who were like, nah, you need to show me the evidence. It's not me in that. So they sort of knew there was nothing on it. So they were quite good. But stuff like that in Aberdeen was, the fine system and all that was good. It was, some laughs with it was good.
Amazing. Would Dale get involved in that as well? He loves all that, didn't he? Tony Docherty more than Dale. Dale wasn't really, he loved the banter and that, but Tony Docherty was more involved in it than anything. But I had one with the gaffer, so I was in charge of the fine wheel and that. And I had, one of the things was, you either pay 100 quid or you do a booby prize, which I made up, so I could write anything. Right. So the first one, I'm like, right, I'm going all out here, so nobody does it. They're scared of it. No one will do it. So the first one I wrote, pay £100 or you have to go to the gaffer's office, bollock naked, and ask if he wants a cup of tea. So I knew nobody will do that. I have to spin the wheel, spin it, booby prize, it's me. I'm like, oh no, I know what's in there. I didn't do it. I was like, I have to pay £100 here. There's no chance I'm doing that. But a few of the other lads landed on the booby prize. Thomas Cherney, the goalie, hated paying fines, like hated it. Right. So he got a booby prize the first time, and I wrote, loads of the other boys had got it, but they didn't do it. Shay Logan dyed his hair and his beard. He was like, nah, I'm not doing it. A few of the other lads, you need to shave AFC into your head. Nah, I'm not doing it. Then it came to Tom Cherney, and it was pay £100 or take 100 ear flicks in a row. You can't take a break. 100, one after the other. And he done it. He's like, I'll take that. Mate, his ear was about 5 times the size of his other ear by the end of it. The boys, so like some of the boys, like one boy would take 10 shots, then the next guy would come in 10. His ear, mate, it was like he had done 15 rounds in UFC. It was mad. What a tight bastard, man.
And then he went on the next one and spun it again, booby prize again. So this time he would do it. We knew he would do anything. We had just been back from Dubai. So Stevie May had a 5 dirham note and a 10 dirham note, which was the currency in Dubai. Okay. So he either had to pay 100 quid or eat both of these notes in 3 minutes. Mate, he ripped the notes up in about 100 pieces and he just started necking it. He just started necking them. Ate both of the notes in 2 minutes, 30 seconds or something. Nailed them both. And then like 15 minutes later, he was thinking like, oh, there could be anything on them notes. Like they could have, and he had ate them. Oh, it was mad. Yeah.
Oh, mate, that's amazing. I love it. All right, enough hilarity. What about playing wise? Who stood out to you straight away? Who was the top players at Aberdeen?
We had a good team at Aberdeen. We had a really good team, especially when I first went down. Del sort of was the one that moved me from left back to centre mid. Yogi done it as I was leaving Inverness now and again, but when Del actually said to me, when you played against us at Pittodrie for Inverness, you played centre mid and I loved it, and I see us playing in centre mid, which I didn't mind at Aberdeen, because when I played left back, the times I did play left back, it used to frustrate the life out of me because Johnny would be in front of me or it'd be Niall McGinn, and neither of them wanted me overlapping because they wanted to just run.
1v1.
So every time they got the ball, I would run the length of the pitch to overlap, and they wouldn't give me it. McGinn used to cut inside, so he'd use me as a decoy and cut inside. I used to hate it. So then Dell was the one that ended up moving me into centre mid, and sort of that's where I played after that. And I played in a 3 with Kenny and Jacko. And the three of us, everything was different. Jacko was sort of the one that would play deeper and play the passes, and he was always the focal point. I'd be more of the runner, getting about, energy, and Kenny had unbelievable ability on the ball, passing. So it was that 3 worked so well. It was such a good time to play in that sort of team. Then you had Johnny McGinn on the wings and Adam Rooney, who was the worst footballer, but a good footballer as well. The worst touch.
What about his touch, by the way? Big rounds his touch. He controls his shin, doesn't he?
He used to get Umbro boots sent him at the training ground and that, and he used to be like, "What is going on?" Umbro Boynes, his touch was mad. But then in a game, I think for Aberdeen, he scored 20 plus goals in about 4 seasons in a row.
Yeah.
So it was like you had Johnny and McGinn on the wings, providing Rooney, and Rooney was scoring goals off his shoulders, his shin pads, his Umbro boots. They would go in off anything. So it was like that team at that time. We came up against Brendan. I think when Ronnie Dyla was at South, we had more of a chance. But when Brendan Rodgers came in, if it wasn't for that team, I think that Aberdeen team would have won some sort of silverware.
Yeah, you were so close so many times, mate.
I know, yeah. The Scottish Cup that Rodgers scored in the last minute was the one. That's the one that got away from us.
See, when Dyla was the manager, would you talk amongst yourselves that you could win the league?
Not really. We never. It was hard to think that you were ever going to win the league over Celtic. It was always. Was
there ever a time that a certain time in the season that you thought we can do it?
When Ronnie Dyla was there, we got very close in like the business end of it. I think it was coming in January, February. We were close, and Celtic weren't firing on all cylinders. So we sort of had a chance. I don't know how much points we ended up being behind. It could have been 8 or 9 or 10. I think it ended up being wider than what we thought. But I think that was the time in the league that we could have got as close to challenging as we could.
Yeah.
And then once Brendan Rodgers came in, he took over, and it was near impossible.
What about leaders in that Aberdeen dressing room? Who would be the players that would stand up and talk?
Well, Jacko was obviously the captain. Jacko would do his bit. Kenny was a big character in the dressing room. You had me. Johnny was quiet, but if he needed to be, he'd be vocal. That sort of group of boys, and then Joe Lewis came in, who is very vocal.
Yeah.
I can't remember Reynolds. Reynolds was good because he was so intelligent that he knew everything. So he was a good guy to sort of have with us. But yeah, we had a good core group of sort of senior boys that all worked well together.
See, on Jack, I think somebody's told a story on here before that he was it Willow Flood he fought?
That was before I was at Aberdeen, but I think they had a scrap at half time or something. And I can understand it, but I know both of them now, and I know what they're like, and I could picture it in my head exactly how it would have went. See, when I watched Jack, I played against him obviously when he was at Aberdeen, but when I see him play, I never really think that he's that type that's constantly on it, boys. Was he like that at Aberdeen, when he needed to be, it wasn't so much on the pitch he'd be shouting at you, but if you came in at half time and we were getting beat or that, he would have a right go at the boys.
Yeah.
Like shit, saying it's not good enough, like we need to be better, blah blah blah. He was good that way. He wasn't so much on the pitch screaming at everyone, but in the game, after games, if we got beat, he was competitive.
Yeah.
So he'd be raging after the games, and yeah, that's the way he was.
Yeah. Rangers are back in the league next year. Was the motivation to beat them at second?
Yeah, I think obviously with Brendan Rodgers doing the invincible season that they had, it was always tough. So I think our fight then came becoming the best of the rest. Becoming second was an achievement for us. And I think, like you say, over the I think it was twice we done it, finished above them. it was a big achievement for us. It was a good one. Rangers were back in the league, although they were still sort of establishing themselves in the league. They were still spending money and signing players, and they were getting back to what they were. So, but like I said, the team we had at Aberdeen was very good, and we always felt like we could have finished above them when we had that team we had. So it was,
that rivalry was intense, wasn't it?
All the time. It was mad, and you even see it when Jacko then signed for Rangers, how much stick he gets. The rivalry between, even when I'm down in England, it's hard when I'm down here because they think so bad of the league in Scotland, and I hate it. It annoys me all the time. But they don't understand the rivalries between Celtic and Rangers and Aberdeen and Rangers. They think it's nothing. The rivalry between the clubs is mad. It is mad.
Yeah, week leading up to a Rangers game, is that different for every other game?
What's that? When I used to go to the games?
No, so sorry, when you're at Aberdeen as a player, these seasons we're talking about, the week leading up to the Rangers game, was that different to every other game?
Well, I think you always knew that if it was at Pittodrie, it was always going to be full, and it was always going to be a different atmosphere. And you always wanted to win because the fans used to love it if you won. So you always wanted to do well in those games. And to be fair, when I was there, we had a good record against Rangers, but them games to play in and the build up to them, they were different. They definitely were. If you were playing Hamilton at home at Aberdeen, you would be expecting to win that, whereas Rangers come in, it's going to be a different game. But those were the games that I loved. I loved those games when sort of pressure's on, you need to perform, and there's a full crowd. The atmosphere is brilliant. They're the games that you want to be involved in football.
And you gave us a few examples earlier, or you were going to give us a few examples. How good's Dale for installing that belief in you that you could go and beat these sort of teams? Is that what he's best at?
1,000,000%. His motivation, his team talks before games, his team talks at halftime, even in the build-up in the week, in training, and his man management, like I said, it gives you the belief that you're going to do it. It was always hard because he was the same against Celtic, but Celtic were a strong team, and at times we got abused by Celtic. But yeah, he gave us that sort of belief and that motivation, and he wanted to. It was a wee bit like when I was at Inverness, and that David Human wanted you to change your persona of, we're not a team that wants to stay in the league, we want to be a top 6 team. Well, Dell sort of wanted us to be like that. Rangers aren't better than us. We need to think that we're better than them. We can win this game. Like, don't go in it with any fear. And especially for younger lads coming through that hadn't experienced it, and boys from England that were coming up and hadn't experienced the rivalry, it was good for them to sort of get a feeling of how it was going to be.
So what was it you said he done? Was it messages from families and stuff like that he would get? So
that was
families.
That was in the cup final, mate. Honestly, it was it was mad. So I think it's a bad example because it was the League Cup final, I think it was, and we all came in from the warm up, and there was like an envelope at your place, and you would open it, and there's photos of the front of like your missus, your wife, your kids, mate, and then you're reading the message inside, and all the boys are like, what is going on here? Like, emotions are high. Like, it was mad. And then we went out and we got scudded 3-0.
But even still, to think of someone like that, mate.
But yeah, that's how we used to, and then one League Cup or one cup final, we had a message from Sir Alex Ferguson on the bus saying, oh, good luck, blah, 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 which was good. They used to think outside the box. And I always thought at Aberdeen, the preparation for games was the highest it could be. Like, the staff done the most they could do for you, and then you had to go and do it on the pitch, which was really good.
And what about the flip side to Dale? Has he got that in him? Where can he go absolutely off his nut?
Aye, definitely. And it was good because even Doc, they both had sort of, they would bounce off each other. One would do, it's like good cop, bad cop. One would go mad. The other one would then take over and be the calming sort of influence. That side of it, I thought the two of them and the staff at Aberdeen were good at that sort of dealing with. If they had to give you a rocket, then they would at half time or that.
Would you even get that as a captain? Would you still get that?
What? Aye.
Yeah.
Oh, he would come at me, yeah. If if you had to, you need to lead them. Like, you need to step up and get the team going. You need to do this. And I always, as a captain, I always wanted that.
Yeah.
Because I always felt like it made me then, I need to step up here. I need to try and motivate my team, and I always loved that sort of responsibility of being a captain. But yeah, he would have a go at you if you needed to, and yeah, like I said, that's what his strengths were. That's what he's really good at.
Right, mate, just a wee bit of, you said the rivalry with Rangers, obviously rivals with Celtic as well. What about players wise? What battles did you enjoy the most? You and Rooney always gave each other a bit, didn't you?
It's the obvious one, isn't it? It's the obvious one. It went on, so it all sort of stemmed from the bad tackle that I done on him. We had to beat them to finish second above Rangers that season, and it was away to Celtic at Celtic Park, and we were 1-0 up, and I put in a horrendous tackle, and I didn't mean it. Like, I wasn't purposely going for him, but I put in a bad tackle. I was late. I caught him in the ankle, and he went mental. He was like, "Your legs are getting broken." Like, because I'd been called up to the Scotland squad in the summer. He's like, "I'm coming out of retirement and I'm going to break your legs in training," like all that kind of stuff. I love that. Like, I don't mind that. Like, I quite enjoy it. He never ever. I don't think he ever wanted to do it. Like, I think it was all sort of, "I'm going to break your legs," but he never was that kind of guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, after that, I think he was shouting in the tunnel and all that. I couldn't hear him. I didn't know. But I think I rattled him that. And it went on for, like, in the prep. Well, it didn't help. I'd done Sky Sports after the game, and they obviously asked me about the tackle. And what I meant to say was, there was loads of them tackles in the game. Like, Scott Brown had done them. Other players had done them. There was tackles like that in the game. Mine had just been hyped up.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to say, but in the end I ended up saying, like, "What goes around comes around," or something. And absolutely killed myself. So then obviously all the Aberdeen fans were buzzing, Celtic fans were fuming, caning me, and I was like, I didn't really mean to say that, but it is what it is. But then the media sort of jumped on that. So then for weeks and months after it, they would keep it going. So when I went away with Scotland and I was doing, like, press, it was all about that tackle. I'm like that was like 2-3 weeks ago, like, and it just kept going, and it was as if they wanted to keep it going until the next game. Yeah. So as soon as the next game against Celtic came up, I'd be on press, and that would be the main question, like, well, what do you think it's going to be like? And then in the games and that, to be fair, they used to always give me a bit, like, they pumped us 3-0 at Pataudry, and they battered us. Like, the football they were playing was unreal. And he came up behind me and whispered in my ear, "Do you want to touch the ball, wee man?" and I was like, I can't even say anything here. I was like, I'm just going to have to keep my mouth shut. But it was that sort of way. It was just sort of, when they would score, like, he'd be buzzing and that, and then when we'd score, I'd be sort of in his ear. But I love that. Like, I don't mind that. He plays the same way as sort of I play, so it's like we were bouncing off of each other.
Yeah.
And every time
nearly come and goes in that tunnel or that?
Nah, never. Well, after that tackle, so the last game of the season, I done that tackle. It was a bad tackle, and he was raging. And then the start of the new season, all the captains meet at Hampden to do a press thing, right? So I'm doing a photo for the new campaign with my elbow on his shoulder like that. So he's and you know what he's like, straight face, like he's like straight face, nothing. And I'm the opposite, like, I'll have a laugh. If he had a laugh with me, I would have laughed straight back and had a laugh about it. Yeah. But he was straight face. And I think it was maybe Chris Boyd or something. That was like, "Oh, have you two kissed and made up in that?" And I was total laughing. And he was straight face. So I was like, and then I was on his shoulder, like looking over his shoulder for the photos. And oh, it was so awkward, mate. It was so awkward.
Only in football, man, brilliant.
Yeah, it was good.
Just on the games of Celtic as well, the 2 cup finals 2017. How do you look back on that?
Well, like I said, the one that we lost in the last minute to Rogic, that was the one that I felt we should have won. We had a couple of chances in the second half.
Was it once somebody rolled across? Was it Kenny rolled it behind somebody? Was it?
It was Johnny. I think Callum McGregor was playing left back. Johnny, I think, robbed the ball off him, and it was a counter attack. Basically, we had men over, and Johnny was running, and all he had to do was square it, and Kenny would have put it in. He put it just behind him, so Kenny was sort of then holding his run and it basically broke down. He couldn't get it, and I think that was the moment that if we had scored that, then we sort of shut up shop and tried to defend it out. You don't know what would have happened. They might have came back into it straight away, but I felt like that was the time that we could have won it, and then obviously got beat in the last minute was devastating. But
you see that last minute, could you actually cry? Like, is it that? Does it hurt you that much?
Loads of the boys were crying after the game.
Were they?
Aye, Ryan Jack. I wasn't. Normally I am an emotional guy, football wise. My missus will tell you different, but in terms of football, you give everything you've got to try and win it, and when you get done in the last minute, it's devastating. Then you see them lifting the trophy and all that. So yeah, it was a tough one after that game. I think we had been beaten before, like I said, in the League Cup 3-0, and that you're raging after the game because you've been scalped and you've not laid a glove on them. But I think that one was harder because we should have won it, but we could have went ahead in the game and had a good chance to win it, and then lost it in the last minute. It was horrendous.
I asked Rooney this as well, and every other Aberdeen player. Is that the one regret that he's never won something, because you were such a good Aberdeen team?
1,000,000%. Like I said, if Brendan Rodgers didn't take over at Celtic, I feel like that Aberdeen team would have won something. It's easy to sit and say that, but the strength of that Aberdeen team was, even if you look at where players have gone, Jacko's at Rangers, Kenny's played in the Premier League, Johnny then signed for Celtic. That team was very good, and I always remember the manager Derek McInnes saying to me, like, I've built up a team to this point, and basically the cup final was supposed to be the end point. We won the cup, and so when then boys started leaving, Jacko went to Rangers, and then Kenny left the next year. The squad started to break up, and it's always hard to replace these sort of boys. And then I ended up leaving, and it was hard. Johnny went to Celtic, when Rooney went, so then the team basically completely split apart.
You get all these players that have left, you feel for Delaney, because he does get criticised quite a bit, and the job that he's done there has been unbelievable. It's
such a hard job that he's got, and all these boys that have went to Aberdeen, moved on, is because of him. He's taken them in, given them the platform, and then they've moved on. So it speaks volumes of him and the staff there, and people coming through Aberdeen and moving on. He would like, obviously, Aberdeen to be able to hold on to players, but people have careers and what they want to do, and it can all be sort of different. It's hard for Aberdeen to hold on to these boys.
And that's on to you, mate. What made you decide to leave 2018-19? Just need a new challenge? Or financial comes into it as well, mate, doesn't it?
Well, I felt at that point, I always wanted to come and play down in England. Everyone does. For one reason or the other, England is a big thing for players in Scotland. And when I turned it down, when I went to Aberdeen, I felt like the age I was at Aberdeen, that was my last chance. I think I was 27 maybe, and in my head I was thinking, if I don't do it now, then I'm not going to do it. And to be fair, it wasn't a stick on that I was coming. I did tell the manager, I want to go and play in England. I want to play in the Championship or above, but it's unrealistic to play in the Premier League. The Championship was where I wanted to go, and I told him that early doors. I think it was maybe November or December. I said to him, like, if I get a good opportunity down there, then it's something that I want to do.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, I said, I love it here. I love being the captain here. My family are settled here, and it's a good club. So it will take something good to take me away. And I always remember, I think Wigan came in for me in January. I don't know if they actually bid in the end, but they wanted me anyway. And in my head, I thought they were in the relegation zone. And I thought, if I sign for them now, they could get relegated and I'm in League One. And that's not what I want.
Yeah.
And I spoke to Del all the time. Del was good as well when I was moving. And he knew sort of where my head was at. He knew that if it was something good in the Championship, then I was going to go. But he always held on to that one chance of not having that move and staying with Aberdeen, because I loved it at Aberdeen. And then obviously Derby came in, which is a massive club. Frank Lampard was the manager, and sort of when I heard that, then that was the move. That was the move I wanted.
Does Lampard phone you directly, or is it through agent?
My agent to start with, because Max Lowe was on loan from Derby.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether Frank had been watching the games or the scouts had been watching the games. But Frank texted my agent and said, "Look, we're keeping a close eye on him. Like, we've been watching him already. We're very impressed. Like, we'll keep an eye on him and see what's happening." I think that was in like February or something, and nothing really came of it. And I just kept playing away. And obviously Dell was on to me about signing a new deal and that, and I was like, "Look, I'm just going to take my time with it. Like, I'm at the age where I don't need to rush it. Like, there's no panic for me to make any rash decisions." And then I think it was maybe like April or something that Derby came back and said, "Look, we're really keen. Like, we want to do it." And I went down. I think it was before I was suspended for the cup final, the semi-final, I think, against Motherwell. And Dell had given me a few days off, and he was like, "Why don't you go down and have a look around and get a feel for it and see if that's what you want?" Because he was in that mind frame of, I'm not going to hold him back, and if this is what he wants, then so be it. And he was good like that as well. So then I came down to Derby and seen the facilities and the stadium and all that, and it's mad.
Yeah.
The facilities, the training ground is unbelievable. It's Premier League training ground, and yeah, it excited me, and that's what sort of I always needed something that was exciting for me to move away from Aberdeen, because I was happy there. And then obviously came down, seen it, and then spoke to Lampard, and he said, like, you're my ideal player. Like, I want to play high intensity, high pressing, players that are full of running, will hunt the ball down once they get the ball, good on the ball. Everything he was saying to me was what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
And then from there I said to my agent, like, yeah, like, I want to go. And then I can't remember when I told Dell, but Dell sort of knew. He was that kind of guy that he sort of knew what was. I always kept him in the loop. I always told him everything that was going on. He knew every club that was interested in me. He knew every stage I was at. And yeah, once I'd done my deal at Derby, I thought, like, I just need to keep my head down with Aberdeen, like what I did at Inverness, and try and finish my time there as well as I could.
Sad day leaving Aberdeen though. Remember the last day?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I didn't think I was going to play the last two games, because I played at Kilmarnock and got a horrendous ankle injury, and the physios and that said, like, your season's over, like, you're going to miss the last, I think it was 4 or 5 games. And I was like, in my head, I was like, nah, like, it's not going to be, like, I'm not going to have it. I missed so it was after the split. I think I missed the Rangers and the Celtic game, and maybe one other. I can't remember who the other team was. And it was the last 2 games. The last home game was Hearts, and then the last game was away to Hibs. And I knew the last home game that I just wanted to play. Like, I was like, I just want to play. So I went to the gaffer and I said, "Look, I'm not 100%. Like, I'm not going to be near 100%, but I want to play. I want to play for you. I'll strap my ankle up. I'll take painkillers. I'll take injections, whatever. I just want to play." And he said, "Look, that's what I want to hear. Like, you're in." And I played that game and I was horrendous. I was so bad. My ankle was clinging on. I was so bad. But I got through the game. We won 2-1, I think we won, or 1-0. And then obviously got a send-off from the home crowd, which was ledge. Loved it. And then Hibs, I felt a bit better, played a bit better. And we won that game. And it was a good way sort of just to go out with the supporters and the club.
Just a wee bit about Scotland. You joined up the qualifiers, Kazakhstan, San Marino. When did you know that you'd be making your debut at left back?
Can't remember the Kazakhstan game, mate.
Would that be your least favourite game in your career?
I think it was my brother my sister actually, maybe, that was playing. I love going away with Scotland. I love the games. Like, I love going abroad and playing sort of abroad apart from Kazakhstan. But yeah, no, I had been in the squads before. My first squad was Gordon Strachan against Poland and Gibraltar, I think it was. And I was young. I was quite young at the time. I enjoyed that.
Any good Strachan stories?
Oh mate, my first ever meeting. So I'm so nervous. I'm a young lad going into the Scotland squad with all these sort of big names, and I was like, it was only me I was at Inverness, I think, at the time still. So I knew no one, and I went into a meeting the first night. So it was all right, and the boys were like, "Oh, Strachan doesn't like singing and all that, so you won't have to do all that." I'm like buzzing.
Yeah.
But he had a team meeting, so it was all good. And then after the meeting, he says to Mark McGee, "Have you got anything for the lads? Have you got anything to say in that?" And Mark McGee was like, "I like Wednesday," and Strachan's like, and he's like, "Tell the boys about Wednesday." So you know what Strachan's like? He turned around to the boys like, "There's going to be a Wednesday this week, boys. On you go." And that was it. And that was my first meeting with him. And to be fair, it made me feel a little bit. Oh, it was. And he said it with such a straight face. "There's going to be a Wednesday this week, boys." Oh, mate, the boys just pissing themselves laughing.
It's going to be a Wednesday in the week.
He's like, "There's going to be a Wednesday this week, boys." Like, just being sarcastic. And to be fair, it was good for me because then the boys were all having a laugh, and it was a bit more like I chilled a wee bit more because I knew it was a bit more relaxed. Like,
yeah.
I was going with Scotland thinking, "Oh, this is all like professional. Like, you can't have a laugh. Like, it's all serious." And that sort of showed me that the boys are here for a laugh as well as like working hard as well. So,
who was good with you? You say the big names. Who took you in?
Well, when I first went down, Darren Fletcher was there, who was very good, and sort of he had a similar illness to what I had, and I don't know, it was like 2 or 3 years before that I had it. So he chatted away about that and chatted away, and I can't remember who I was rooming with. Do you know who I was? I think I was rooming with. I was rooming with James Forrest.
Oh, that would have been quiet week.
Nah, he was top man. He was really good, and it was like it didn't feel awkward at all until the first night we went for dinner, and he said, "Oh, let's go in that." So I was like, "All right." I didn't know where I was going, so I was following him basically. Chaps on a door, so I'm like, "All right," and then he goes into the room, so I'm like, "Do I go? Do I not?" So I walk in. It's Scott Brown, Charlie Mulgrew, and I think Lee Griffiths or something, and then there's me, and I'm just sitting in the room like, "All right, boys," like awkward as so. I'm shy when I don't like know anyone in that,
yeah.
And that was before I had been playing sort of. So, but they were all top men. They're all good guys, but it's just that way when you go away with Scotland. It's so awkward. But yeah, and so I roomed with him. Then it was good, and that was the only squad I went away with Strachan. And then I went away. I can't remember the next one. I went away with Malky Mackay when he had the one game when Boydie said I was only in the squad to sell tickets.
Are you raging with that? Be honest.
Nah. I'm that way where I was like, even if I am, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I'm fine with it. So I went away, but I was frustrated because I didn't actually get on in the game, and all my family were there, like watching. So I was a wee bit frustrated that I didn't get on. But in terms of what was said, I wasn't really bothered. I was just happy to be there. And then when McLeish came in, I went away more frequently, so I felt more part of the squad, and it was good.
Right. So the debut. When are you told that you're playing?
It was the day before, so I have no idea.
Is they shape? Is it in shape? You find out?
No, it was. Well, the day before, I think Kieran Tierney was sort of hit or a miss, and then obviously it was a miss at the end. So then we done a few bits of shape, and I was in the left back area. So I was thinking, there's obviously a reason behind this. And then after training, he sort of said, "I'm going to play you left back," like, and I was like, "That's fine. Like, I'm not really fussed. Hopefully, I do well."
Yeah.
And I hadn't.
What, a year?
I hadn't been playing there for about 3 or 4 years.
Right.
And I hadn't done any shape like in training, building up to it. So I literally went straight into the game at left back, and the defence was I think Liam Palmer was making his debut, or he had rarely played. Then it was David Bates, Scott McKenna and me. So it was like the most random back four you'll ever see. Having not worked in training, not worked together, hardly anything. And the night as a whole was just a disaster. Like, I had the worst game of my life. The team had, because even if I had a bad game, sometimes the team can carry you.
Yeah.
The team had a bad night.
How early on into the game did you know this isn't going right?
Well, as soon as the first goal went in, I thought, oh no, here we go. And then the second one went in, and I was like, this is not going great. And then come off at half time thinking, yeah, this is a disaster. And then after the game, I knew it. Like, I knew in my head, and I'd done the press, and I came out and said, look, I know I've had a nightmare. Like, I don't care about. I said, I don't care about the other players. Like, even though the team didn't play well, I don't care. Like, I look at myself, and when I get the opportunity to play for my country and I let the team down, I look at myself and I wasn't good enough. So I was like, I didn't think much about it at the time. And then I'm not on Twitter or that, so I don't really read anything for the reasons of it's always sort of negative. There's always going to be something negative, and you always sort of think of the negative instead of the positive. So I didn't see anything, but some of the boys, I was rooming with Scott McKenna, and I think he had seen stuff. Family had sort of said a few bits. So I had seen it, and I was just getting slaughtered. And I was like, I was in my head, I thought, look, you need to take it. Like, I've had a beast for my country. It is what it is. Like, I need to deal with it. I've done it. I'll deal with it. But one guy said that he didn't know what I offered to football and Scottish football in a whole. And I thought, how can you say that? Like, I've lifted the Scottish Cup. Like, I've played in Scotland. I played for Aberdeen. I was the captain. I was like, that's a bit harsh. And I ended up bumping into him at Pittodrie. And
was it an Aberdeen fan that said that?
No, it was a reporter. It was a guy from Clyde FM or something. I didn't know he was a Rangers player, and I don't want to slate him. I'm not going to sort of badmouth him in any way. But he slaughtered me in the press, and it came out. And he had said basically that I'm not a fan of him, which, fair enough, people are going to have good opinions and bad opinions. He said, I don't like him as a player anyway, and I don't really know what he offers to Scottish football or football in general. And I thought that's a bit harsh. And then I done Red TV at Aberdeen, and I seen him, and I said, look, what did you mean by that? And he was like, oh, I didn't say that. Like, it's been taken out of context. I wanted to phone you. He said, I wanted to phone you and that and apologise to you and all that. And I said, look, I'm not fussed by it. I can take criticism, but when you say you don't know what I offer to football, when I feel like I've had a good career in Scotland, I felt like it was a bit harsh. And he was like, oh, I understand in that. And it was all right. Like, I'm not the type of guy that's an angry guy that'll badmouth him or that. But I just had to say something just for my own sake.
Is it, see with Scotland, when you go away with Scotland, see that intensity of the press, is it like nothing you experience at club level?
It is. But I've played in different games for Scotland, and that game was mad because it was in Kazakhstan. I think everything about it was mad. It was in Kazakhstan. It was minus 15 outside. It was 15 degrees in the indoor pitch. It was an AstroTurf pitch, and it was just, I don't know. There was just the whole everything about it was just, there was something like wrong. Like, there was just, it was a bad night. And that's what I said to myself when I came back from it. I knew I obviously wasn't going to play the San Marino game because Andy Robertson was back. And I just said to myself, look, it's a bad night. You're going to have many bad nights in the future. You just have to get on with it and put it to the back of your mind and just get on with it.
Mate, it's good that what you're saying, because see, if I was you, I'd be making every excuse under the sun. Like, you hadn't played left back for 4 years. I'd have came out and said that, mate. And
I felt like I was a left back, so it's not like the position was totally unfamiliar with me. I would rather have had. As you said sorry to interrupt you, mate. But as you said on here before, which proves it, is one manager and Terry Butcher wants you to kick the ball in the channel, and one manager at left back and John Hughes wants you to pass the ball inside. So it's not as easy as just I've played left back before. Yeah. In my head, I just thought, I've not, even in the build-up to the game, I had not been positionally, and I think positionally was the worst thing about it. Yeah. That's where I got caught for the goals. And I thought, well, I've been playing centre mid for the last 3 or 4 years, and I've not played left back in training either. So your bearings from centre midfield to left back are so different. And I felt like it was just one of those nights, and I just thought, look, I'll deal with it. I'll take the stick. 2 weeks down the line, I could have a brilliant game for Aberdeen, and it's gone, and you forget about it. So
another thing that happens in Scotland is that the easy target always gets picked. That night, as you said, 11 boys weren't good enough, mate, but it'd be the one that hasn't played enough football that gets the criticism. I
always think sometimes the media in Scotland can be so harsh on you when you fail. Yeah. And when you do fail, they come down on you like a ton of bricks. And that's the way it was that night. It was the worst feeling I've ever had in my life. I felt so bad. Just that's my pride and joy is my football. And to sort of have everyone saying how bad you were, you're like, your pride's dented a wee bit. Who
helped you at that stage, Graeme? Was it to text you after that game like Yogi?
Well, Del came out and sort of backed me up in the press, which is always nice. My family, but I'm that kind of guy. Like, it is what it is. Like, I'll take it on the chin. It is hard. No one can tell you that you're not going to be affected by the game. Do you know what I mean? If you're not affected by a bad performance, then you shouldn't be in football, because if it doesn't hurt you, then you don't care. It was horrendous that night. I stayed in my room. I didn't even go down for food with the boys. Like, I just had to sort of deal with it on my own. And then after that, like the lads and all that there were like, we weren't happy as Larry, but the next day you sort of try and say, look, it's over. Like, we need to just forget about it. We've got another game coming up, and everyone sort of just gets back to sort of normal, and it was all right.
See how you said about the Aberdeen dressing room pranks, Inverness the same. Is it like that away with Scotland, or is it a bit more professional?
Nah, I don't know. I think it's because you don't know everyone sort of inside out, so you don't know how some boys are going to be. And when I used to be fair, we used to have a laugh. It was sort of John McGinn, Carl Patterson, Ollie McBurney, Ryan Fraser, and it used to be good going away and seeing these boys, because that's the only time you'd really see them. But in terms of like club like pranks and all that stuff, there was none really of that. It was just sort of, you'd get the banter with the boys, but it wouldn't be much sort of stories that come from it.
How did you find Big Charlie Mulgrew?
Some good stories. Some very good stories.
But they're all lies. Don't listen to a word of them. They're all lies, these stories, eh?
I know that, because the best story of all is because obviously David Marshall signed with us at Derby, and the story of him and Craig Gordon doing a 147 on the PlayStation is one of the best I've heard, mate. I love it. I actually love it.
Mate, it's just supposedly arms and legs have been added onto that story, innit?
Aye, that's what he said to me. He said, it's half of it's true and half of it's arms and legs.
Like Charlie always says, mate, never let a lie get in the way of a good story.
Aye, it's good.
And just on the standard there as well, like, see Tierney and Robertson, do they stand out? Are they like a level above everyone?
Yeah, but I think the standard in Scotland is very high. Like, there's a lot of good players that are there, so it's not only them. It's sort of standard in a whole is different to what I was used to at Aberdeen. The intensity was good. The sort of demand on you was higher as well, because the calibre of player was high. But the training there was good.
Yeah, you'll get back into the squad for the Euros?
I don't know. It's been tough at Derby. I've been in and out, and if I'm not playing, then I probably won't be in it. But I'm in the mind frame where I've enjoyed it while I've been in it, and now I'm getting older. It's maybe time for sort of younger guys to come through, and sort of, because I'm not one that plays every week, and I'm sort of, I've played in friendlies and I played in the Kazakhstan game, but I've been away so many times and not played, and it's a bit hard when you've got sort of family at home and all that. I love going away with the squad, and I always would, but if I'm not going to be playing all the time, then maybe younger boys would benefit from it more than what I would.
Brilliant. Just last bit on Derby, mate, a bit of a left field question here, but I always, like, when Lewis Morgan was talking about Becks, I would ask, Lamps is the same. Like, did you ever go for food and like a glass of wine with Lamps in it? Nah,
never. I went down. I was probably suspended again. I was always suspended at Aberdeen. I went down to watch the playoff game, Leeds and Derby. It was the home game, not the away game.
Needle there as well, wasn't there?
There's what?
There was like a bit of needle there with that Spygate and all that, wasn't there?
There always was.
Yeah.
But I went down and watched that game, and it was good. I was viewing houses. I went to view a house on the Sunday. Oh, it was I should have known before I'd even started my career at Derby it was going to be mental. So I went down that weekend, said to my missus, like, instead of, because we have to fly into Birmingham, I said, instead of getting a taxi, I'll just rent a car from Birmingham Airport so we can go about, see where to live, blah, blah, blah. So my missus is like the higher end one. I don't care. So I said to her, I've rented out a wee polo from the airport. It was 20 quid for the weekend, right?
You rented a polo?
Aye, a polo, right? So a little polo, a white polo. It was 20 quid for the whole weekend, right? So I drive it through the game. So honestly, I get to Pride Park. Nobody knows who I am. They obviously know they know I've signed.
You can't say you're a player when you've got a polo.
No, honestly, and I have to pull up next to Tom Huddleston's Bentley Bentayga in my polo, mate.
Oh, if I was Tom Huddleston, I'd have just done that to you.
Honestly, and my missus like, we can't go to the game and let's get a taxi. I was like, no way, let's just take the wee polo and then we can go or drive after it. And then on the Sunday, we went and viewed houses, and I couldn't find this house. It was behind these gates, and there was 4 houses, and I could not find it. And there was a wee lane, and my missus was like, oh, it's down that lane. I'm like, nah, it's not down that lane. It's down that lane. I'm like, it's not down that lane. It's down, and that way when you're missing, I'm like, right. So I'm fucking in the polo. I'm straight down this lane, flying down. Not there. It's all old people in their houses and all that. I'm like, I told you, it's not this way. Reverse without having sensors on the polo. Bang, straight into a wall, mate. Straight into a wall. Old guy's in his garden. So I look up to this old guy, and he's just in his garden like that. So I get out the car, look at the back of the polo's mangled. So then I drive out the lane, and the house is across the road.
Oh, yeah.
Take the polo back to the airport and had 500 quid of damages. Should have got a taxi. Yeah.
Oh, sensational, man.
Unbelievable.
That is so good. So how devastated are you when Lampard leaves and you've not even played again?
Well, when I signed and I spoke to him, everything was about getting in, training, but nothing was even mentioned. And then when I signed, then the rumours started coming about, and I was like, please no. This would sum me up. Like, I make my move down here, and the manager moves. And Chelsea was the only club that could have taken him. He wouldn't have went anywhere else. And then that summer obviously came, and the rumours heightened, and it grew and grew. And then he obviously confirmed that he was going. And I was like, oh no.
Did you speak to him?
Nah. The only time, once I signed my deal, I never spoke to him again.
Oh.
And then I went down my first day of pre-season, no manager. Like, it was the youth managers. And I was like, wow, what's going on? And then the new manager came in, and a lot of people were asking me, like, how do you feel in that? And I was like, well, it's a clean slate for everyone. So everyone's sort of in the same boat as what I am.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty chilled with it. And then he came in and didn't give me a game, and I was like, well, maybe I'm worse than what I thought. But yeah.
You were playing at the end, mate, weren't you? I watched a couple of games.
Well, I couldn't get a game. I couldn't, like...
Why do you think that was? Sorry. Why do you think that was?
I don't know. To start with, I just don't think I caught his eye. I don't know. I'm not a footballing kind of guy. I'm more high press, get in your face, win the ball back, get the team driving forward. Whereas the manager here likes more possession based, 2 deep line midfielders that'll get on the ball, and which I want to do as well, but I don't think it's as much as my game. Yeah. And at the start, I think he probably thought that. And I couldn't get a game for months and months. I started dropping out of squads, so I wasn't even travelling with the boys. And for me, my head was gone. Like I actually thought in my head, I signed in that summer, and the window was only open to go to League One or Scotland, and I thought, like, I might have to get a loan move out of here.
Yeah,
it was that bad. I was not in any. And then I thought, now I'll fight. Like, I know I can play in this team. I just need to fight for it. And the weird thing was, So I went and we played Barnsley on the Wednesday, and I was in the stand at Barnsley. My head was gone. I was like, I'm done. And then the next day came in, Friday, I was playing, just randomly. He was like, you're playing. So I was like, what? Like, how did I get my head around this? And it was Luton directly against my brother. So me and him, and to be fair, I played as well as I could. I was man of the match, bossed the game. Like, I couldn't have played any better. And from then on, I played 7 or 8 in a row. My form was good. I was enjoying my football. It was a new, fresh change in the championship. And then never had an injury in my career. Split my hamstring tendon, and I was out for 12 weeks. So I was like, what is going on here? Like,
football, like, no, you've not only just played before that, but you've been the main man in both teams that you've played in, and then to go and not even make a squad. How tough is that? Eh?
I came in after the Stoke. We were playing Stoke away, and I trained and all that, and the manager here works differently. So I trained and all that, happy as Larry, came in preparing to travel to Stoke. The team goes up, the travelling squads, and I'm like, he's missed my name out. Like, what's going on here? And then you know that way where your body just sinks, and I'm like, I'm not in the travelling squad. What is going on here? And then I didn't travel that game, and I was like, wow, my head's gone here. And then I got in, changed his sort of persona of me, and he started to like me as a player. Got injured, which was tough. Found it tough when I got back because the team were then playing well. Was in and out, and then I played my best game against Blackburn. We won 3-0, played really well again. Thought, like, I can try and kick on from here, and then COVID hit and everything went into shutdown.
Need to ask you, mate, Wayne Rooney, man. See, when you heard he was coming, how buzzing?
Mate, he was in the canteen at the training ground. I'm like peeking through windows and all that, thinking, this wee guy from Aberdeen is a way to be playing with one of the greatest in football. I was thinking, it can't be, it cannot be. And then went into the canteen, he was sitting there. I was like, wow. And then it got announced that he was signing. I was like, what is going on?
What is he like when you stand next to him? Because I always think top players are look like monsters. Is he the same?
Well, yeah. But maybe a bit. Well, let's just say he's not got the physique of Ronaldo. But nah, it's weird because, like you say, you think these boys are built of different stuff.
Yeah.
But they're just normal people. He comes in, he just chats to you like he's a normal guy, and he gets the banter, and like it's weird. It's just like he's just one of the normal guys. You forget that he's actually had the career that he's had, and his ability is obviously unbelievable.
Has he ever done like a particular thing in training and you just think, nah, like I've never seen that before. That's a different level.
It's just his awareness. Like, you can't get the ball off him until he sort of tires a wee bit.
Which is what, 10 minutes?
But on the ball, and that is passing. Some of the games I played alongside him, I'm thinking, how does he even see that pass? Like, his ability is, and when he was at his prime, he would have been even better.
But you did play a game, so I watched the game. It was you and him centre mid, wasn't it?
Yeah, he said to me, "Oh, you just do the running and I'll do the passing." And I was like, "That suits me down to a T, big man."
Can you get a laugh from him as well?
All the time. He would have some stories, but he's not. Some of the ones he's told us, like, I'm sitting there saying, like, because all the lads are sort of normal, and I'm sitting with the lads and I'll say, like, oh, when I won the Scottish Cup and that, and then he'll tell a story after when he played with Ronaldo and won the Champions League. I'm like, right, that's outdone me a wee bit there, man.
What does the big man drive into training? What's he got? Has he had a few?
He's got a Range Rover and a Q7.
And no polo?
Nah, well, I've got the Golf now, so...
Does he batter you? Does he batter you for the Golf?
All the boys do. All the boys do, mate. I'm like, I'm not bothered.
So what's the plan for the future, mate? What have you got, 2 years left there?
I've got 2 years left here. I want to just try and play as much as I can here. It's tough. It's been tough and it's going to be tough, but I'm in the mind frame where I'm just getting my head down, play as much as I can. When my time's up here, then I'm obviously hitting 30, 31.
Back to Pittodrie.
I don't know. I want to play down here as long as I can and as long as somebody will take me.
You didn't want to go. You didn't want to go and play League One and League Two, didn't you?
Nah, I don't want to go.
Leave that to scuddies like me, mate. Didn't go after that.
I would rather go back to Scotland than drop to League One and League Two. I think I enjoy playing in Scotland. That's where sort of I enjoyed it. So I love it down here. The sort of the freshness of only playing a team twice. You go visiting different stadiums, ones that I've watched on TV. West Brom, I played at West Brom, and you watch them on Match of the Day and all that. And now I'm playing there. It's like experiences like that is why I came down here. So I want to play as much as I can, and then obviously after it I'll probably come back to Scotland.
Graeme, genuinely loved it. What a man.
Love it, mate. Thank you very much.